And we'll look forward to seeing them.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah.
Too.
But and it was soaking wet for a long time. Once I took, it was like 2 layers of plaster, and took both off, and it took a long time to dry out. I did flash it in the meantime, so the water isn't running in there now, but, there's nothing like an overhang. Still protected. And it's just. I got some of it. Yeah, it's so. If you go to sending. No.
I'm sorry.
So. You know. So. Yeah, so I might just add, so the overhang problems the maple, the other thing that's going on is that. It's modern. And that actually has a pretty sufficient overhang. It's adequate, yeah, you wouldn't change that. You didn't have to.
Did the site visit and things were covered. When you did that, when you agree, and some addition begins, possibly bringing that.
Yeah.
Kind of kooky windows that would.
And then the only thing that's a real issue is that this southwest corner where the new overhang is gonna come in, and then you have the old overhang with the old. That's one of those things that I'm not really sure.
Because we'd be looking at a plane that kind of does that, right? Could be-
Yeah, it would just be, that would be sort of that's where you would notice it. Unless somebody has an idea.
We know who we would turn to. Yes.
Yeah, that right there. That transition would be, because this has some very heavy trim coming down and it all ends right there, so now we can extend that out. You could hold the new overhang back, but that would be anything you did, I think it would be noticeable. So that's really a little sort of detail there.
And this is such a sliver from Huguenot Street, when you walk into Huguenot Street, you get this brief glimpse of that back corner of the house, just to the south of the house and stuff. But the challenge is that the overhang can't follow the pitch of the roof or so it's gonna have to do something kind of like what the porch is doing.
Yeah, the porch changes. I think that's a 7 pitch, the porch maybe changes to a 5 pitch, something like that.
So my information here is, this is largely stoop facing. And we definitely have a really historic house here, but we've also got from the water infiltration. And not water solution. I agree with that south, the east corner of the house is the tricky part of just how that finishes. Very shady. He's already gone. That's a good.
I was just gonna say, it's not a Yankee gutter, but you know those gutters that you see that are kind of like, it's almost like a wood channel that's, you see the brackets kind of holding it up. Like if this is the roof and the gutter kind of sits on top of the roof. And I know that's not necessarily like the best detail, but I mean, I don't know the term, what those called, but they're not Yankee gutters, but you see them on old houses. And it's basically like, it's almost like a wood fascia that's like Act 20 gutter that's, lands perpendicular into the roof, and then there's a series of brackets that hold it up. I don't know, I'm just throwing the idea out there. I don't know if that's necessary, because that's also a pretty strong look on the back of the house.
We're sort of whispering. The application for Huguenot Street was for wooden.
But that kind of falls on with the face, right? Like this would sit on the roof, like right in front of the eave. But I don't know, it's just an idea, because I feel like, I don't know, I don't know if you will really see it that, like that strongly, like the southwest corner of the house. I don't like, I feel like if you pull that overhang and we bring it right to the corner, I don't know if it's necessarily like a, terrible, like detrimental thing to add to the house. Like I feel like it's not, that maybe with whatever this is called, like you'll find a detail and send it to you. That might, maybe that could pick up the water at that corner, and then it could, maybe you could pitch it to where, to where the overhang is.
It's not a cricket or
It's not a trick in the sense of like, diverting water like around like a chimney or something, but I'll see if I can find a detail or the term and send it over, and I'll show you. Okay.
And myself, I like the simplicity of an overhang.
Yeah.
It's easy and simple as you can. The front has it comes down and it's flat and it's like a box of it.
Mhm.
And that, that there's some issues there. One of them was rebuilt like really well. Like the center was redone really nice. The other two haven't been redone. They've just been sort of tarred and, they're working.
Yeah.
But there's some rot on the front.
So I guess if we were to bring the overhang all the way to the corner, would that be with like the eave on the gable end? Would that basically be tied into like the side fascia of the overhang? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I guess like how is it going to tie in with that existing?
Yeah.
Board on the corner?
We were looking at it when we were out there. It's I haven't looked at it that much. And that's a tricky spot.
Because I feel like that's the question. Like how is the trim for the rake board going to meet that? How's it going to work? You know?
Because it has like the original. I think there's a rake board and then there's a crown molding on the big freeze board.
Yeah.
So all that comes down and then.
Because it kind of ends cleanly now.
So,
But I mean, maybe if there's a drawing or an elevation or a detail of how that overhang meets the rake board, if it could just be like negotiated and tied cleanly together, then I feel like it's.
Yeah. That's it.
I mean, I'm be comfortable approving it as long as we know what it looks like.
yeah, what are the graphic skills or drawing skills? If you have somebody.
They're okay.
You sent over that detail.
I sent over that one detail.
Yeah.
I had a program, but I don't have a printer for that computer anymore. Let's see, this was one detail.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, this was one that I did. In my old house. So this section was built with structural insulated panels. And it ended right there. So the overhang is actually 2x4s on the flat. They came over and created a cold roof. And then these brackets are just attached. They're like a 12-inch structural bolt into the six. So this one has smaller ones than the bigger part of the addition had. They were like 4 foot outside.
So they're not actually rafters.
No, it looks like that, but they're not. And that's kind of what I drew there, was just sort of a regular rafter where you could do deeper ones. But then if you start to do that, then are you doing something that's not really correct either? Like what's the right look for one of these houses? Is it that? I mean, this just look good to me.
Yeah,
That's why I put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
I guess how the roof framed is it like
The roof is, so this section is, this section here, the original section is like logs.
Okay.
And right there. And then I think there's a little chamfer on this 8x8.
And that's very nice to put that together. That's very intense.
Yeah. So you'll add something here
yeah.
and attach it. I was thinking about you get a frame strap in there somewhere also.
But then do you see the strap on it?
No, the strap would have to go on the top of the.
Oh, okay.
I did slide one up in there.
Uh-huh.
There was room to get, so if you had it attached to the top of the tail, whatever you're putting on, you slid it up in there.
Mhm.
And that was like a twisted strap, you could attach it to the side of the rafter.
But the connection wouldn't be like this.
Not that way now. You may want to even put a bolt in. Like these, I put a long bolt in and I just put a wood plug.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can see if you really want.
Well, so just as a general, I mean, if this is invisible, we're not concerned with it, or always since this is such an important house.
Well, I mean, I feel like there are two things going on. It is a really important house and we want to help you, you know, keep it beautiful.
Yeah.
It's also not very visible from the street. This isn't a public business. I mean, I think that, I think this is a pretty good solution. The tricky thing is that finishing. Showing it's kind of, you know, sort of an X-ray view. And Jeff, this is showing the pitch remaining the same, are you?
Okay.
Are you thinking that?
I don't know which you would do. This was just a drawing, like you could. The porch, like you were saying, the porch is slightly different, slightly flatter.
Yeah. My recollection from our site visit is that we were both worried that following the pitch is gonna come.
It does get that, yeah.
Top quarter of your windows.
And you could come out, I'm not sure how far you could come out until you start to get into the windows. If you did this method, you wouldn't necessarily have to have a fascia, you would just have the tails. But then the gutter would attach to those. So. It's
So here's what I'm gonna suggest, we've got a fairly long list of things to talk about, we're clearly gonna have another meeting about this. I would say if you're willing to, you know, commit to a couple more drawings, you know, really think about what you want and maybe start with the pitch. What we do know is that 8x8 will take the big structure, like it's solid enough. Reasonably count on that. Are you committed to a metal overhang versus carrying on with cedar?
I did that thinking you could leave the existing cedar roof alone there, but that may not be the case once you start doing it. You may have to sort of redo the end of it anyway. But I'm not. This is more of a starting point.
I raised that, I mean, not really an objection, but just kind of pointing out, so that would be our third roofing material. Be adding a material that sort of understands. And that can be done really well. That briefing can stand on the scene.
I was thinking something like that, possibly.
That can be really nicely done, but it's probably moving away from the historic.
Yeah.
Roofing. And then on the third hand, I'm told it's hard to get good cedar roofing. I think we heard this from even us a few years ago, that it's just hard to get good material.
It's hard to get. You know, we're doing a lot of interior structure and framing and material that's been coming out. Like I was in the building business for like 30 years. Always do construction. And I can't believe the material that they're sending out now that is okay to use. You know, well, holy cow.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I was thinking. And I mean, I don't know if it's like the vintage of this house. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of a less intrusive way to have a gutter. You know, like it's like a gutter that sits on the roof, so it's not expressed. It's not like attached to the eave. Just a thought. I mean, I don't know if that. I don't know if that's the right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, case.
I never heard that term. I don't know if that's interchangeable with Yankee, but I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, just a thought, because this way you're not like adding to the eave or you know, say breakboard, add like building out the gable end of in the corner.
I think we need to add to the eave just because we've already added to that beam, but I didn't show it on there, but this is where they built it out with 2 2x4s and then put the fascia on, but the wall is also out.
Oh, okay.
So it's right, you know, it's like right there. It's just, especially with that really big roof up in front of it.
Yeah, it's
You
getting a
know,
lot of.
it's I think some overhang. But, you know, that end detail is the only issue. You can hold it, like I said before, you can hold it back,
Yeah,
then it would look odd from the back of the house. Inside, you wouldn't see anything.
yeah, even if it's just like, cause what's the overhang of the rake board, it looks like it's hanging out like maybe 12 inches from.
Pretty substantial, it's at least, well, I didn't measure it, but there's substantial overhangs on the other three sides.
So you could bring that fascia, that E that you were just describing, still to the corner of the house and not interrupt
Right, yeah.
the rake board on the gable end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If it's just held back, even if it's just a few inches. I mean, I know this is like really getting into the weeds here, but no, I guess if you could do it in a way where you're not essentially like changing the way
Yeah,
the rake board looks, or you know, like that. You know, that gable end elevation. But I guess also just, I mean, if you want to bring the gutter right to the edge of the roof too. Probably pick up everything. I mean, I guess the gutter can be. Out, carried a little bit further than the edge of the fascia.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that struck me when I did the site visit is there's a lot of roof.
Yeah,
And so definitely, I mean, if you stuck with standard gutters, you know, the 6 inches rather than 5, just takes a lot more
Yeah,
volume.
yeah.
And I wouldn't hesitate to upgrade to 6
Mhm.
inches. Just on this part of it, how about at the next meeting, that can be July if you're ready. How about, you know, sort of that level of detail. Some ideas.
Okay.
Happily talk, you know, help you talk, think through it and give ideas. Maybe at that point you, or by that point you explore that getting better possibility. Maybe that in the end doesn't make sense. I'm not sure what kind of volume is carrying versus.
yeah, no, it's true, maybe it doesn't make sense, maybe, I think probably just building out the extension and just trying not to. Tie it into the rake board of the gable ends, just keeping it just separate, even if it's just like a couple inches.
I think that's a really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a kind of free hanging. Bit, I don't even know if that's unusual. Like,
No, I don't think so, I think that's pretty.
that would be-
I noticed that some of the gutters on these old houses, they're the wood ones, and they shoot way past the house.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe we do something like that, just on this end part, but.
sometimes, although. If that were something with a French drain, maybe, because the house has a basement,
Yeah, full basement,
okay,
basement under the whole house, except for the new part, is on slab.
okay.
A great basement, actually, because I walked through the house.
Yeah,
And, yeah.
yeah, there's a slab down there, and underneath the main part, there was a slab that was there. It's not cracking. And. That's probably when. When the Hasbrooks moved in and renovated. And it's unusual to see a slab that big without a single.
It's huge,
not
yeah.
cracking.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
And the ceilings are high for a house like this. I was surprised at how high the ceilings are in the basement.
That's down to the basement level too, right from the back.
It's no, it's more than a few cents. The back stairwell, that floor was high. The main basement, I guess they dug it down a bit.
Okay, so that's one part of this, let's press on. To the plan, second floor gable and shed dormer windows do the condition allowed for egress, so again, this is something definitely. Talk about egress is non-negotiable. They haven't. conform, and currently, there was something weird, right, if they swing out, if an egress window swings out, it hits the,
Right for,
the rail.
yeah, so this window is in a bedroom. You know, an existing bedroom and what would be still a bedroom in the new floor plan. So you can see the freeboard, excuse me, comes down over a little bit. So as a double hung, that's not an egress, but as a casement, it would be.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, Marvin makes an in-swing casement, fit it in there. You could put it in, it would swing in, and then you would have the 5.7 with the other 19 wide, 1.5.
Everything.
Or-
Sorry, I'm a little blind back here.
And they have I know they do the casing with like that like kind of faux medium rail too in the middle too. It
Yes.
looks like it's a double.
Yeah, they all do, like Pella, Marvin, and Anderson all do like a really good grill.
Yeah.
Marvin is the only one that makes the in-swing. The other option would be, it was a different window to Marvin, is you could essentially, you could do like a homemade window there, you could just buy a sash from the company and build it, build it myself on the inside, and it would just be like a door, like a small door, and that would be meet the requirements. And
Could that be done with the existing window? Oh, you want to replace both anyway?
yeah, I think the ones upstairs were air conditioned anyway. So I would assume you would do them all the same. And then so there's a relation with the ones upstairs, because those are obviously different to the ones downstairs.
Yeah.
The 6/6 and 2/2. So that would be sort of, I'd like some direction. I'm like, would you do all 4/4s? I don't think so.
2/2s.
2/2, yes, yeah,
I think so. Sort of like pick your point in time.
yeah.
I'm assuming the 2/2 is the original divided light pattern. I'm assuming it is.
I think these are replacement windows, actually, from what I read in the report.
On the second floor.
The whole house.
Oh, okay.
So I think even these windows are at different times, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
But when I read the report that was done for the listing of the house, there's 7 or 8 pages, and I think. Or with me, but I think these windows are maybe like 150 years old or something. They're much younger than the house, but they're still.
And they're much older than the upstairs.
Yeah, the upstairs, and then the shed dormers are fairly new. In front of this house.
Those 2/2?
They're designed by some, they're sort of, oh no,
You
they're
go-
older too.
Yeah, 2 over in the middle is different.
Oh, yeah.
The middle is different. Yeah. It's.
The committee's sort of keep like.
I mean, that's what the facade is now,
Yeah.
that's another good.
It's a quiet look.
Yeah.
I like some old houses that have 12 or 12.
Yeah,
They look great from the outside, but then they block a lot of light from the
Yeah.
inside.
yeah.
But then I think that might sort of take too much attention to the windows,
For sure.
so.
I really think,
Then that was my other thing when we were out there is the lower windows, they're actually in pretty good shape. They're obviously single pane, which isn't that big a deal, but there's no weather stripping, which you could solve that. But then you would have, some new windows and some old windows. And that would, I don't know if that creates a messy look also, but you're better off just having all new windows
I mean, I feel like if you could, if the month is more or less was the same and you do the simulated divided lights, I feel like it's fine. You know, I'm super, I'm very delinquent in writing guidelines, so, but yeah, I feel like if, you know, as long as you're not like introducing like a much larger Muntin or, you know, like the colonial Muntin profile as opposed to like, I don't know, these are probably what, just like square Muntins or something. I feel like if you could match the Muntin profile and size as best as you can, then it's fine.
Yeah, these are pretty thin.
Yeah. And I know like the Marvin, like the Ultimate G2 or whatever, like they have the sashes, like the mean rails and the styles on the sashes. They have two different sizes, but these look pretty thin, so I think they would more or less be the same. So I don't think you would be looking at much larger frames if you were to go with Marvin. I think they would. I mean, what I'm saying is they would be acceptable. I don't think.
Well, if you went with Marvin, then you're in the same family as that Egress.
Yeah, you would definitely keep it the same family.
I mean, just for the simplicity of the order.
Yeah.
The Egress one was necessarily different several different profiles, but if it's 2/2.
I think the grill pattern should be the same.
Peculiarities of the house, certainly see not the shed dormers, but the gable dormers. That's such an interesting thing going on with the little hood over standard 2/2 windows.
No.
It's almost
And that those windows they're a square window. But from the inside, there's a round top grill. So the grill is like really thick. It's not even a grill, it's just like a wood trim that comes.
Oh,
It's really quite interesting. It's cool. And then the way they're installed too. It looks like just a normal round top window, but they're not. And I think those pieces of wood were to hold little clips, I think, to hold the storm window. That's why they're there. I'm interested to see how it looks when they come off.
So, Jeff, if you were to go with 2/2, whether replacement or not, but you're basically going for that one. What are your thoughts on those shed dormers?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that it's trickier when you go? Maybe it's just 1 by 1 side by side.
Yeah, usually you kind of treat those almost as like you're taking the upper sash of the double hung window and just using that, but the geometry is different. Like they have a different proportion than just the upper sash of the double hung window. But I still think you would treat it like that. You would do if you were to replace them. I think each window pane is like this is has this 1/1, so to speak, or it's like 1 vertical.
Yeah.
To
Side by
mount
side.
for 2 divided lights.
One next to one. So
Yeah, those are cases made. They moving out.
interesting. Are you inclined to keep them?
They're not in very good condition. They've been repaired a lot, and one of them I opened it and a couple of the panes fell out.
Oh,
So, but they're in rough shape. Lower ones, and then the two in the peak gables they're still all in good condition. Now the one, this is in a bedroom also. This will need to be an egress window. But I was thinking there might be a way to keep that window and make it into a casement window, like a window that would swing open, and then you would meet your egress requirements that way.
can you meet that requirement, leaving that half moon cover?
I'm not sure. I think I think these would probably come off. Because then you have there's a nicer detail under there.
Okay,
Okay. It would be new, it would be, you know, the people who walk down the street
we'll see something.
will see something new, but it's a nicer detail. That was there, you know, just, but I think just for the storm window,
Interesting approach. So here's what I would say on this general question of windows. You know, for us to vote, we'll need specific, you know, which windows, what's the overall plan. But it sounds like you're inclined to go 2/2 as kind of the,
yes.
and I think that my approval,
Mhm.
so if you want to proceed that way. Shane, you mentioned a Marvin series.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ultimate G2, that's kind of like the top of the line. Well, I think you have to do that, but I'm just familiar with those. With the details for that line, because we use them all the time in my job, and I think the 400 series is all the same. You know, simulated divided lights and whatnot, maybe even like the 200 series, but. I mean, you wouldn't do like, or are you considering doing like an aluminum clad exterior, or would you keep them wood?
No, they would, I would like them to be. I've only looked into the window, I would prefer wood.
Yeah.
I've looked at, see, all these windows aren't readily available when you go.
Right, yeah.
Especially the more expensive ones that are, well, you just gotta order it or whatever, you know. The Marvin Signature Series, I don't know if you're familiar with that. They're a really nice double hung. And from what I can tell, the way these windows are, you can't really see the picture. This was something I was looking at after our meeting. But these windows, the glass is back a good 6 inches. Like this is like a 6-inch depth.
Okay.
So the window is back. So an important detail if you replace these windows is that it remain back. So you have that depth.
Is it only just at this window? Or
All of these, the wood frame windows are like a normal window.
so there's almost like an extension jam on the outside?
Yes, the windows are quite recessed. Now with it, some with the when they had the storm windows on, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
So I was looking at how it's framed, and you actually would put the windows in from the inside.
Mhm.
And you really wouldn't see that much of the new window frame. So all this trim, so the way this is built is there's like a 4x6, that's like a timber frame.
Mhm.
And then over top of that, there's a 5/4 trim piece, and then there's a 5/4 trim piece around the outside of that. So that could all stay. Windows would slip in behind and would maintain that depth. You can't see it from the picture. So it wouldn't be like put in from the, normally you put it in from the
Yeah.
outside,
And then
nail
cover
on
it
it
with
in,
casing.
yeah, so they would. Keeping that depth would be one of the important details. And it's just a question of which window company can accommodate everything. I know I was talking to a Pella guy, and he said Pella will make, you know, they have standard sizes, but they'll make a window custom size for not a lot of money extra. For a few dollars extra, if you want it to be a 1/2 inch wider or 1/2 inch taller, or inch taller, whatever, they'll do that. So that's pretty appealing. I don't know, I haven't gotten back to Marvin yet to see if they would do that too.
Yes, I mean, it's like the same color,
Yeah.
same level, minus.
Their in-swing casements are all custom windows. So you just order whatever you want, so but I don't know about their double hung, if that's how they work.
Excellent, good, so I think, you know, the next move is really thinking about the window plan. Part of what you were saying in the application is also to replace the vinyl ones
Oh, yeah,
at the rear. Are you thinking of staying in the same family?
yeah, it would be the same, all windows would be within the same family. Yeah, so in the rear of the house, there's 4 windows. And everything is new, the frame's new, the windows are new. I don't know how new they are, but they're vinyl windows and they've been reframed, all the old framing, that all rotted away. There's still some, this one window has some of the old trim, and that's all. Job.
So I think that's a good guiding principle, of staying within the same family of windows, or staying within the same design. And then you leave the extension alone for the moment.
Would probably definitely do this part. Because that's gonna be actual living area, the garage is kind of a. Not really. Too worried about garage right now. I mean, it will need new windows as well, so they would be consistent. And it's gonna need a new garage door. But,
Well, that can be things too. I mean, we may want to, if you think in any reasonable time, you might also do the garage windows.
Yeah. I would like to get a whole plan. So there's 2 windows there.
One sec.
Low chimney like those 2 are.
Yep.
Also the 3rd one there inside of gravity.
There is.
So we're saying all double ones, 2 over 2.
Yeah, I think
Right, this is pretty straightforward. And then, not to belabor the point, just for the windows and those shed dormers on the front. I guess, like typically, my understanding is that you would just get the geometry of the divided light to be similar to that of the double hung windows. So I don't know if the 2 over 2 or 1 by 1, I guess like top stash idea that threw up. I'm assuming that would give you a similar geometry to the proportion of the divided light for the double hung window, but that would be the goal. Because actually, as they are right now, they're much smaller. Like the proportions to the width and the height of those divided lights actually do match pretty well with double hung windows. At least in the center one.
Yeah, the center one looks good to me, and that may be some guidance.
Yeah, so I actually think that looking at it again, I think that actually looks pretty good. Like what you don't want is for like the divided lights to be like square or something, or much squatter than the tall divided lights that are 2 over 2. So I guess just take a look at what the options are there. But looking at it again, like in the center one, actually I feel like it looks pretty good.
I agree with Shane. I think the others are a little trickier to figure out what's going to look best, but.
Yeah, because they're different sizes. The windows themselves are different sizes. Slightly, so it's a little bit of a quantity.
I mean, you can establish, so those are 3 over 3 plus 3 over 3, maybe 2 over 2. Establish this line consistent. I can't even tell. I think maybe they're not even on the same plane. Are all 3 doorways on the same?
Looks like the center one comes out over.
That's what I think I think you might be right on that, yeah.
It's tricky.
Such a handsome house, isn't it?
It's a beautiful house too.
So there was a picture of this house without the shed doors. It looks like something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We should have said that.
But I mean, it's obviously, there's like no light at all up there. You don't
Yeah.
have a shed door.
I think there's a way to make them look good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
actually what's there doesn't look far off.
No, I think it was nice.
Conclusion, what would what we would need to know is, what the plan is, like, what's gonna be replaced with what, and if you could give us either the link to the website or,
Okay,
looking at, because we have to record
yeah,
manufacturer
sure.
model and style. That would be great.
Yeah, and then I guess just like a close-up picture of one of the existing
Yeah.
windows on the
Yeah,
first floor.
close up.
Yeah, one of these ones, just so we could see, like your month-end profile meeting braille, like what it looks like, and just getting close with the new windows.
The next item is the chimney and the mud roof, so that's part of the modern addition. And you'd like that to go, right?
Yes, there was a wood stove hooked up to that. And that's, there's no reason for that,
But
we're not using that, and then the chimney. It's there, it has to be maintained, it could fall over, it's also an energy
so
trap.
It's so tall, I guess it has to be 3 feet taller than the adjacent.
Yes, it's like a 10-foot, 2-foot roll.
Yeah.
So coming off of the main roof. So it's a correct chimney. So we were thinking about, well, should we keep this? Is this an asset?
Yeah,
We could, would we ever put a stove in the basement? Because it goes to the basement.
oh,
I'm like, then we're like, how many, there's already 2 fireplaces, and it's like. It's a lot of work having wood fire anyway, and you're gonna have fires all over your house, it's not really.
I mean, personally, I feel like if it was one of the chimneys in like the main house, I would feel strong. Trying to keep it, but since it's in this extension, I don't feel strongly that it has to remain.
And actually, I feel so strongly that just, I feel that's a foregone conclusion.
Yes, it looks, it almost is kind of strange actually, how tall it is.
It's very.
Oh, yeah.
Very thin,
It's a little scary, like. It would go right through that roof.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a discussion, but we'll get back to that next month as well. And then also the ridge fence. You're gonna introduce a copper ridge fence.
Yes, and that's more of a long-term plan is to. Because right now there's a wood ridge vent, and it's, just one body's nailed together, and you can kind of see them separating a little bit, not in the best condition. Obviously they take a beating up there. In my other house, the one I just showed you, I did a cobra vent, and then I bought a ridge vent from some company that makes, you can get them decorative, or you can just get something that's more, just an angle that would fit on there. I don't know. It's a copper ridge vent with this house.
So, since you're asking, personally, I feel like the copper is gonna look pretty strong. I feel like the copper was raised like the angles and the roof, and up against the dormers, but I feel like personally, I'm not saying this to be a stickler, but I feel like typically you see the ridge vent with the same material as the roofing. And I mean, could you get like this is a cedar shingle roof, right? I think a cedar cap would, personally, I feel like it would look better. And I think to your point about the ridge vent taking a beating, I think I've actually never seen a copper ridge vent, but I always kind of assumed that if it got like dinged up, like it would actually look like more noticeable, right? Because of, I don't know, just it's so decorative and it's so shiny. If it started to get beat up and dented, it would just look.
Well, they turn it around over time, so it becomes. But the other reason I was thinking of copper is is everywhere there's copper coming through the roof now, cedar roof is like in perfect condition, like.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's
You know,
right.
just below it.
That's
So I was
right.
thinking, well, if you did a copper ridge vent,
That's right, actually.
I mean, like just replacing the ridge vent with light for light with a Cobra vent.
Yeah.
Because the way that the interior framing and insulation is gonna be done, the roof will be vented.
Yeah.
Right now, it's vented just because it's just an old
It's
house,
right.
vented everywhere.
For sure.
So if you could do a Cobra vent with, 1x6 cedar, you can do that too. But I got copper in my mind just because of looking at, they have copper plumbing vents with 2 spots on the roof, and then there's copper around the chimneys, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, well, why does the roof look so good?
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah,
It's kind of tells it.
It must,
Yeah.
I've never, I mean, it's certainly like to replace that would be a lot cheaper than to do copper, so I'm not.
No, for sure. I mean, I think. I think function wise, the copper, you make a good point. I mean, even my parents' house, there's like copper snow guards. And right below that, there's no moss or anything going right below
Yeah.
because they just have that antibacterial property. However, I do feel like capping the roof with copper. I know I'm not trying to be a stickler, but I feel like it's gonna change. I don't know, it's gonna add.
Well, it's like a pretty prominent feature.
Yeah.
The copper, yeah, it's fancy, and maybe it's too fancy.
No, I mean, I think it looks great, like, in the valleys and stuff. I just don't know if I've ever seen it as like a ridge material. Maybe there's plenty of precedence for it, and I've just never really
I
noticed.
usually like with a slate roof,
Yeah,
you'll see, and
Yeah.
because the company that on my other house where I did it. It was a copper company, they made everything related to copper, but there's like 15 ridge vents with the same all these designs. And the one I had, it was flat, and then there was like a rounded thing in the middle,
yeah. Oh, cool.
but it was cool, but it is a feature
Yeah,
versus like just replacing light for light, it's just a new ridge vent.
Mhm.
for sure. I don't know. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this like language is up. Is different.
Yeah, with
I mean, I feel like with slate, yeah. It's, I do see that combination more, but I guess. The cedar shingle.
it's not something that I'm married to.
No, for sure.
I got the copper ridge vent, but it's.
No, it's an interesting thought though. Because I guess I feel like part of the charm of the house is like the cedar roof, and I'm wondering if the copper kind of like just adds another introducing that material on the ridge. I'm just trying to visualize it in my head. I'm trying to think of how strong it's going to look. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much.
I think over time, like this is all copper here.
Yeah.
Over time, it just turned to brown.
Yeah.
And then it's eventually green, but by then, everything's. Well, it won't turn green because you'll replace everything within a time frame.
Yeah.
It's not super easy to get up on the roof because,
No, you'd have to do it with like a lift.
yeah. I mean, where I was going, a sample piece of copper up there somewhere reachable might tell you something.
Yeah.
Potentially draw, I don't know, maybe the ability to draw out something similar.
I mean, I think there is. Or better so.
Yeah, we're losing the battery in the left.
I may have some pictures of the one, my old house, that had one of the simulated slate roofs. So it's a whole different, it's actually a stone, it was an addition, but it's stone, kind of looks like this, but the roof itself and then the top. If you just did it like a bent piece of copper, or it would just turn brown and it would be, you wouldn't notice it after 6 months.
Yeah, so you know, if that's the case, then it is, yeah. Is that the situation with the flashing now, the copper flashing, it's already kind of oxidized?
Some of it has, some of it's still pretty bright, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Around the chimneys, it's all brown. And then this new section in the middle, they begin, this is all to be done, and it's still
Yeah.
pretty bright and solid, which,
I guess if it's the same gauge, and if it's like the same type of, it's like lead coated or whatever it is, as long as it matches what's there, I think that's fine.
but this is like, this would probably be like next year
Yeah,
sometime.
and the ridge cap that's there doesn't have any, there's nothing special about it, right? Isn't it?
It's like one by cedar,
There's no like
Yeah.
interesting, yeah, so, alright.
but like, there's the place where you can see it opened up,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no leaks in the roof.
Yeah.
There's a little, there's even some shingles missing, but there's no leaks. There's a little bit, when we had really heavy rain we've had a lot of rain, but
Mhm.
there was one point where it was a lot, and there was some moisture on the chimneys.
It's a C.
But I think that was one of the other things, was repointing and, some type of chimney caps.
Mm.
I mean, I think there are definitely pros and cons.
Mhm.
That's just another thing.
Larger plug in.
Think about it. Stephen pulled up some interesting images and that could say my impression of the more that really wanted kind of don't look right.
Right, yeah.
Type of homes, but by the same token, it's something that, just stayed a little lap, flush. Might be.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's so it's really beautiful, it's.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, very difficult.
Yeah, that's similar to what I had done.
yeah, I mean, I think that would be adding to the decorative element that's not there. Whereas, I guess the conversation here is just keeping the same profile of the ridge vector, but just a different material.
And I think that than what Stephen just.
Yeah.
That's not that that's not beautiful, it's just.
And
But the other difference would be, there would be a slight elevation if you had the cobra vent under.
That's very true.
that's true.
So
That's true.
Raise it up.
Actually, I hadn't heard of that.
that's just one of the brands, it's just like a heavy mesh,
Right, and it
about
comes up about 3/4.
something like that, and
And usually it's just, what I've seen is they just shingle over.
yes, you just shingle right over it. With, in this case, like if you did one by material, which is what they did here, you're not going down the whole roof. Like if you wanted to do, like you could do it in shingle, cedar shakes that way, but then somebody's got to go down the whole roof.
Yeah.
I was thinking close everything up. Then it's the windows, just getting an idea of what we're doing. We'll have to keep working through. The windows can be replaced. You know. Next spring, okay, they're not super pressing. For the chimney is the only one that's really the biggest, the other ones. And the overhang, as well.
Yeah, I feel like the overhangs. I think we're.
Yeah.
Um,
The overhang's more of a piece of line, like the overhang done, like.
Yeah. So everybody else. Of these things, does anything look like it needs a public hearing? Like, the windows, well, okay, removing those half moons is a pretty significant
Yeah.
change. Otherwise,
It is a removable feature.
it isn't.
Yeah, those wood, they come out. They're painted in now.
And you said there's an interior curved panel or no?
Yes.
So, okay, so there may be like, is that still expressed like on the outside, I guess?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can take it out, because right now, it's like, from the inside of the house, you can see all the bees nests that are, the bees have gotten up in there.
Oh, yeah.
They found a nice spot for themselves.
Would be sensitive.
But yeah, these are interesting windows. I've never seen a square window with, I've seen the square windows with the round trim, but then not installed the way these are installed, with the side coming over and that.
never seen that.
And they don't leak. There's none of the windows have really leaked.
So. And I feel like the most important thing is probably the ridge fence, it changes in material.
Yeah.
But the rear chimney is just sort of concluded.
Yeah.
You see, you have to mail out.
Hmm.
Notices to your immediate neighbors, you have to post a sign. And you have to. Get a notarized statement that you've done that. I feel like maybe the thing that ultimately brings the most peace of mind is having that public hearing this month. It's a little more work on here, but then it's a public's chance to raise any objections. And if they don't. Then we can say. And accept comments in writing, occasionally people can be meetings to express pro and con. It feels a little bit overkill, but maybe that's just the safest.
I think it's like, yeah, had similar projects. I feel like. Yeah, why not?
Especially because there's still a couple of question marks, what's gonna happen with the normal windows? If you're, I think that's the way forward, and then it's just, people have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a prominent structure on the street, so,
And below,
yeah.
yeah. I'd be fortunate if you see it. Looking to
I was just
tear
gonna
it
say,
down or whatever. So if you'd like to move things along, we can schedule it for July. I think it is. Let's see,
I'm checking the agenda, July 8th.
July. So the window's pretty tight for all noticing. Valerie can get you the package, but it's like, I think it's 15 days.
It's 10 days.
10 days.
Okay.
We also have to run a notice in the paper, so those deadlines are really firm. So that gives you a couple of weeks to do that. And then there's still time, we really don't need the details of, what the windows will be until a little closer to the meeting. So we can sequence things doable based on. Keep thinking. Keep having a good discussion.
So do you want to be like like the public hearing, what would you say? Would I be proposing stuff at the public hearing, or would it just be, this guy wants to change the windows on this house? Or he wants to put these windows in this house?
It would be the latter.
Okay. Okay,
If you're thinking of two options, you know, in the past, we've approved things with.
Okay.
Option A or B being fully accepted.
okay, all right,
So
good.
that takes some pressure. But yeah, the public, at the point of the public hearing, public needs to know.
Okay.
Those speculative.
The legal notice itself doesn't need to be quite that detailed because it references the application, which can be found online, or I can share it by email. So what I'll do, I usually prepare the legal notice for
Okay.
you and give you a list of the neighbors and, you know, give you
Okay,
everything
that's
you need.
less- okay.
Yep,
It won't be
Help you.
100 people because it's 100. It's
200 foot buffer.
200 feet.
Okay,
So we don't have.
yeah, yeah,
And then you have to put on the yard sign, take more than one inch. Says. That's number of feet from the road. Expensive. Also, if you can think of other things that you might be doing to the exterior, let's get, you know, let us know so that the list is complete, so you don't have to go through that.
right, okay,
So, you know, like for example, those garage windows, I would say definitely put that in as if it's gonna happen. And then
yeah,
also
okay,
we can extend the permission.
okay.
The garage door too, like
Oh, garage door.
spec for that.
Yeah, if you can step out the garage.
Yeah.
That's just,
Option one window, then option.
It doesn't have to be the same if you. want.
Yeah.
That's a model.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 panel high. Double, with one window pane. But if you want something different. No,
okay,
you know, that's.
No, I would as well. Something else to put in the public hearing.
Yeah.
Get it taken care of.
Okay. All right, so we'll see each other in a month. Thank you very much. This is-
live. And I'll get the neighbors.
Yeah, I'll prepare a whole packet
Okay.
for you and I'll be in touch. I'm right down the road from you.
Okay.
Congratulations on this. It is beautiful and it would be beautiful. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you later. Okay. Come on. Come on, Karen, would you like to as well? Apologies for the lateness. Things started out with both ends of the. Listening. Okay.
It's Good for that. It's good to have the official notice that the county recognizes the house as a landmark, so we're thinking about, next steps. And one of the next steps that we're considering, or at least thinking about, and that's what we're opening the discussion tonight. For that reason is historic district, because there are, if you look at the section of the historic report that was sent to you, there's a section devoted to structures that were either primarily built by Jacob Whitcoop or associated with Jacob. And we've been able to identify those structures. And we suspect there may be a few more if we keep looking. Particularly Church, Chestnut Street, corner there. So I understand there's an existing historic district in the village.
Excuse that street.
I'm sure there was another consultancy in that street.
No, well, there is, let me explain what that's all about.
Okay.
So, the downtown area is a national and state register district, which is great. I mean, that took a lot of work some 15 years ago. But that doesn't confer local protection. Seems strange that would be that is the situation. So it's basically on we've been working for some time to try to convert that district into a local preservation district. And we're sort of, I guess if I were missed it, I would say we're 75. So what's happening with it's called the downtown district, is that we do have consultative powers when something is constructed or amended. That's a country planning board, so we don't exercise the same authorities we do on Huguenot Street. So that's to say not wrong, Kurt, but it's a little more complicated than having that district be under full purview.
Okay. So. We're seeing the difference between having a state and national registration. I thought that would confer a certain level of protection. So it's just honorific to go through that process.
It is. Now, in a lot of communities, the communities have opted to make that district locally protected. And that's the thing we've been trying to do for 5+ years. And it's just.
What's the process for? Okay, what's the process for local protection and what does local protection provide?
So I'll answer the second one first. So local protection creates a district. So any structure within that locally designated district has to come to us for experience changes. So the process you just witnessed with the house on Huguenot Street would be the process for any structure in that district. You probably noticed that we said a couple of times in one in the street is a house. So we're being really careful about what we're going to say yes to. Other houses on Huguenot Street that were built in the 1980s and are much less concerned about things with those houses.
Well, that was going to be our next question, because many of the structures, even the ones that we identified, have already had a considerable amount of work done to them. For example, of the parsonage, but probably the only remaining vestige that's visible of the old parsonage might be the foundation, which is something we're looking at to see whether or not because so much renovation work has been done to all of those structures.
Right. And I mean, that in itself doesn't prevent creating a district,
Okay.
but then you have to kind of create with the reality that, you know, we don't have the power to make people reverse
Mhm.
what's happening to their homes or their businesses. That's just not in the preservation framework anymore.
Mhm.
But what it would do is put a kind of future restriction, obligation on the houses in that district to propose what they want to do. So this actually happens with some regular, even in the street, somebody living in a modern house wants to put in an air conditioning system or build a deck out
Mhm.
the back. Those tend to be really easy decisions because the deck isn't facing Huguenot Street, it's not, it's pretty performant. Something like the air conditioner, we try to be careful to get the units away from public view
Mhm.
and push back if somebody thinks otherwise. You try to see in the village, the egregious cases of those compressors just going in the front or the near front. So we're trying to prevent that. Other than that, you know, if the house is really not historic anymore, you can't force it to.
Okay, I was,
that.
yes. Okay.
But that, I guess that has to be weighed against the burden that it's putting somebody who owns that house,
Mhm.
who wants to do something, has to go through paperwork and we find it's
Mhm.
trouble.
Because, part of the question, we know, for example, in the recent, fairly recent past, one of the houses that had been built by Jacob Black Group was taken down.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid that happening to as many of the remaining structures as we can protect them somewhere.
Great, I think you get it. I mean, there's another avenue we could discuss, which is, in addition to creating districts, there is the possibility to create individually granted properties. So that's what happened with the enrollment. It was a discrete application that applies just to that house and protects just that house. And if we wanted to pick and choose, you know, maybe that might be an avenue to explore. Which are the best preserved ones, which will be most paid to lose, and then we start looking at that question.
Okay, what would be the difference between the process of doing each of those? Like, for example, if we were to, I'm going to take John Martin's house.
Okay.
As an example, on Mulberry Street, I think, which is owned by, Ruger. Or for that matter, you will use one on Huguenot Street, because I have met Mr. Cook. Yes. Yes. So if we were to do an individual, landmark status for that house, what would be the process, and who applies for it?
Well, it's happened both ways. I can't think of an instance where we've landmarked anything against the will of the owner. So sometimes the owner comes to us and says, I want the house protected. That's actually probably the other times we've approached the owner saying, you know, you live in something landmarkable, what do you think? And it's usually going just fine. So I think we have 13 individual landmark properties outside of Huguenot Street, and they've all been the application. The application then gets considered by us. There's a public hearing. We notice it. The public can come in and process it. And then So looking county, pretty much the process that you saw with Palin with the enrollment, is what we do for this. In budgets. And you know that, so why is that different from the district? One of the things that held up the state and register district from just automatically quickly becoming a local district is the board is supportive, we're supportive. We just ran into this practical problem that you have to within that district, which was 100+ houses, and the village just said we don't have a bandwidth to. You know, I don't think that's the final answer.
You have to notify all of the houses, even if they're not possibly even able to be land.
Well, they would be landmarked by virtue.
Would be my
Right. So let's just, we could use Grove Street as a ready example. Okay. Everybody on Grove Street, irrespective of this, all houses are old and so would then become subject to the same thing as a individual be subject to. With the difference that we would understand that inside a district, not everything's a contributing house and treat them different, but it's really to the public that you live in modern split level raised ranch, you live in a sort of 1880s house, we look at that differently from yours. It's just really hard to get that across. Yeah, saying that certain level of trust that we can through. And so what we ran into is the village just said we don't have the personnel, we don't have the budget to, and at least after we got just started, right, it's just like this big film of legal. The biggest part because we thought we had this thing done, and we got legal advice from the state office of parks, recreation, and historic preservation. Do it, which sort of makes sense, right? We have to do that. So by the way, that was after 3 or 4 public meetings, some people could come forward with that.
What if you were to start a project and do it, let's say, which seems to be a somewhat easier way, start with the discrete applications and then having that discrete application, a number of people, then investigate, do it the other way, then investigate the possibility of the local districts. It seems it might be easier, already gotten on board a number of people who understand and the historic nature of the structure in which they live and are agreeable to the discrete. That's also probably a lengthy process of doing that, but I'm thinking that once you have those people on board and then they can talk to their neighbors and whatever else they want to do, that might make it do the process in that manner might make it an easier process to undertake.
Yeah, I actually think there's even a precedent for that. So when we were talking about that downtown district, this and the majority of the only exactly what you described. They recognized the benefits. There was a kind of notorious example on the street of something that was built out of character, and we saying there's no protection if you aren't in what exists. And so they were actually, I talked to somebody about 2 weeks ago, was very disappointed here with the thing that she thought was done. She had supported publicly, just kind of got stalled. So I think there's a decent chance that that could happen, you know, as you accumulate, maybe starting with the best preserved and most conspicuously good examples.
We'll probably have to
Be a really participating. It brings me to the other point, which is, you know, some of some of these on the list are rental houses that I'm not sure we would get mine in from the owner, in which case we've got a difficult decision.
Yeah, that's part of my concern, because the house right next door to me, the house is a rental property. And that's a lot of trigger, which was built within a year.
And we can start to think about that, make a case for it. Later, after the meeting, I can share with you what they're finding. There's a legitimate landmark, and I think we could say there's already an argument because it's land who it's close to being paid. If we can find out more about the Freer house, and that is certainly the case if we can go in and say, of these 3 or these 5, we feel that these at least criteria. But it's uncharted territory to do this without the participation of the agree.
But when you would do it.
Yes, I don't know all the details because they keep changing a little bit, but in some cases you can get, for commercial property, you can get tax relief. It's not enormous, it's only, I think, 20% of 20% of construction costs at the tax rate, but so it's, it's not really paid everything for free, but it's a chunk. It doesn't apply in every case. There's also an evolving in the village. I don't know what the status of its code is, but one of the things that can trigger that loan is the blessing of sort of preservation. So if somebody's doing something that we consider sort of sensitive, you can that too has a bunch of strings attached because it's not meant to be the first it's supposed to be used when they've exhausted evidence and
And is it a loan?
so it's a low cost. It's not there is a small fund building now for grants, but I don't know. It's also shared with natural. Or not.
Village?
So there's a new surtax on property transactions. I think it's 0.5% or something like it's paid to the town, which is putting it into this bucket. And she will start dispersing that for preservation project. Something that found out where the time with that. But it's only a couple of years old, so it's not good.
Or student grant application processes for.
I don't think that's very onerous. It's a simple term.
It seems like it would be simple if you're in types of owners
Yeah,
in order to engage in preservation work.
yeah. I mean,
It's definitely
the state does,
Logical.
Yeah.
the state is already doing some of that, but in New York's way of doing things, it's not a simple application. And there's also some federal money. I think that federal money, tends to go to disadvantage trying to be.
Well, we met last week. From the preservation that funded the conditions report. And one of the things she definitely said to us is that if we had questions about certain matters, and she raised the issue of taxes, et cetera. That might be another source of information we can draw on to find out if there would be any state tax incentives for individual homeowners.
Yeah, they're definitely.
And that's enticement.
Um, there's something called the homeowner tax credit program. 1% credit for the New York income tax based on qualified restoration. State and National Register. So that's going to disqualify most of these prices. Maybe.
Now that brings me back to the question of the honorific.
Yeah,
A local and a state register district, even if it's only an honorific, would that qualify the
yeah, well, in the sense that you're disqualified if you're not. I wonder though if local landmarking would also qualify. I found this was a possibility. Well, it's the state of New York. There's, well, what I wrote down is homeowner tax credit program, and another one called commercial rehab tax credit. And Stephen, this was,
New York State Department of Taxation. Qualified historic home must be owner occupied residential structure listed on the state or national register of historic places or located in the state or national register of historic district and certified as being of historic significance in the district.
okay, so what that means is it's not enough to be in this catchment area, you also have to be contributing.
And it must also be a census tract of chronic economic distress for 100% or below state family income or city. That's it.
I appreciate that.
You know, this in the general way is something that we're for so long, you know, with landmarking and districts, if there were more sheriffs out there, there would be just so many people that this time, but you know, the state gives us some carrots to do this, that they're maybe. They don't help that.
I also took a look at some of the stuff on the National Trust stuff, because they're looking at using some of their money at the national level. But not for like that kind of rental, but to use its historic properties that can be used for purposes of housing in certain kinds of areas. And that's where it's going back and taking a look at and seeing. But we couldn't do that. That would need to be done probably by the owner of a particular property. But that too might be an incentive for some owners, but I suspect what they have in mind is not student housing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna put this list. See how it works. You know, to 127 Huguenot. Is there anyone on that list that you think would be a good first person to sign up?
Let's see, on this list. Wine coupons, possibly, someone on our building committee has had a conversation, which I haven't been, she gave me the name of the owner and a phone number for the owner of the White Coop House on Mulberry, who's interested in everything that we're doing. And I believe it's one of the leaders.
Okay, that's good.
So, that would be, one. The others, the Freer House, I know some outreach had been done. And he,
So what time?
I can't remember what it's.
There's some for you. The
Oh, yeah.
person in town, I said hello to him. I said,
Oh, that Corey?
yeah,
Okay, that's the Freer House on Church Street.
yes.
Yes, I know, and Corey and my son were friends. So. It's not the house I'm thinking of, then. One Coop House. There might be another. Or if I'm thinking of the Margaret House on Broadhead.
Mhm.
That Margaret Oliver Freer House, because that's definitely a
That's next
student
door.
rental. And I know some outreach at some point in time has been made to him. And the results are kind of like,
Is that John Brownson? Is he-
that may be the name, yeah.
He's somewhere reasonable.
Yeah. He at least has had contact. Of this house was built by Jacob One Coop. So, and Anna Bates' house is currently in use by Historic Huguenot Street. That's on the old home. The red building,
Oh, okay,
that's the
Did
Anna
not-
Bates' house,
did not know that.
yeah. So we can talk to them. In their historic district. Or at least that's what I've been told, that it's actually on their property, but not necessarily included in the historic district.
Recollection is otherwise, but I'm not sure.
Okay, and I may, but I think that's what I was, having conversations with Josephine on this, and that maybe what she
That could be.
what she indicated. That their historic district didn't go quite that far.
But if it's on the map, this could be found.
Yeah. So in any case, they would be a good, regard,
They would be.
yeah, they would be supported.
And the other thing that occurs to me, so as we look at these addresses, it's pretty hard to say that that's a district. In that they're dispersed, and district has to be contiguous, it has to be.
Oh, it does, because someone had told me that it doesn't.
That would be news to me.
Okay, because I was informed by someone that it doesn't necessarily have to be contiguous.
If I think the district means district boundary and things within the district. Another approach that may achieve some of what we're trying to do is, to try to write a grant to write this up. Bring some kind of consciousness that could be the form of signage where a house isn't necessarily landmark, but this is some that creates maybe like a walking tour staff.
Well, we're in the process of working on that.
That sounds really.
So that would. We're in the process of working on that.
That's great.
And we do have. Considerable information on each of these properties. As well, because we've done deep research. As well as look into the history of the house books that are in the library.
That's great.
Yeah.
mean, that's-
And sometimes the stuff that got reported in the newspaper isn't quite what the deed and original indenture says it was. Yes. Inaccuracies between the two. And then how this gets, yeah, and then the ownership over the time, so I know we have it for the Freer house, we have it for the Ann Oliver house. I know we have it for a couple of other structures, but I have to get back to you on exactly which other structures we have it. Okay. So,
So if there's signage. Cluster. So do the landlords have to. Signage. Or can they disagree if they have signage?
Probably. I don't really know, that's never come up, so, but. I don't think we have to.
And the signage. Or conditions that flow from having signage. To your.
The first thing I can say to answer that is, when we have landmark properties, we offer them little oval plan.
will we get into the another?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We now will answer Karen's question, which is, the stipulation, you have to maintain that not be over, et cetera. So that's the nearest thing. I can't imagine it more than we have the right to impose signage on it.
Screen with individual then becomes possibilities that could be an enticement for some people.
Absolutely. And it is, I mean, the cases of that would be how to destroy that flag. I think that's the way forward. I mean, I think it's I'm sorry to be. But the thing that was just staring me obvious hasn't happened yet for all these practical reasons. And adding to the fact that these are dispersed through the village, some of these might be caught up in the new district. But, it's hard to make a case that those are a district. What they are is a cluster of interesting historic properties that should be studied and made public. But I like the idea of choosing one or maybe two owners, and let's be thoughtful about which would be the best preserved owners and approaching them exactly the same idea. We can make it very easy. You can fill out the just
I can talk, like, we can do a little research also on what landmarking is, so that we can inform ourselves. I think we would be open to.
Okay.
Everybody's running low over here. So I think everybody's running.
Yeah, it's right really well at this point.
Sure. I made a note to myself to find out what the status of the open one program is. It's been all over the place of calling it. It's not everywhere. Likewise, that new town preservation fund.
I see you wanting to keep.
Does it say anything about the town?
I didn't have, but yeah, I just know what you
I doubt that would be public, but that's something that you find. You wouldn't get hopes up too high because it's so new. There are a lot of claimants, and as it was conceived, I don't think architectural preservation is priority is more preservation. And then on your end, if you think about who might be the logical person to talk to, check that for anyone.
Okay.
As for the plaque, I mean, I think the logical time to be the plaque is some renovations and the technical. No,
Well, the logical thing is, would be when the renovations are done, but if we want to jumpstart protecting some of these other properties, maybe just think about some way of having some kind of way of identifying it as landmark property, whether it's a plaque or something else. Cause that will jumpstart conversation about it. And, yeah, I can think of signage on that property that could then introduce the possibilities of other locations in the something that designates the animal of the house to jumpstart the conversation. See, you know, it's, you know, it's right, look into landmark.
you know, it's already protected, you're enjoying all the protections
Yes.
that you would have speaking. I'm not even sure if legally you can landmark a property within a district. I don't know, need to see that. It would be kind of legally redundant, but let's,
The plaque on the door.
well, exactly, I mean, if for some.
Yes, the
publicity
plaque
and-
would be,
Plaque list. And actually, I mean, Historic Huguenot Street has the walking tour of the wine houses. So, I mean, our houses, I mean, that we,
yeah, the house is included as a tour of the wine group houses. But here's the problem that we're having around that. That is very associated with even after.
Sure. Sure.
And Street have been amazing partners for us. And at some point, you need to be able to have that tour and say, this is a tour of the 19th century, because what most of those old houses are, of the 19th century Black community here in New Paltz, which is separate and apart from Huguenot Street. Even if a Huguenot house is on Huguenot Street, it's not one and the same thing. They largely deal with 17th century and as far as African Americans are concerned, enslavement, where the Margaret Wade Lewis Center is going to pick up, is beginning with probably the late 1700s forward from that time period. Because starting with gradual emancipation, because part of what the Margaret Wade Lewis Center will begin to be which we are in the process, as you see from the historic document, which we are in the process of documenting, is how individuals from here, and then we'll keep us much longer, but I have to say Pennsylvania, how individuals from here and also who came up from the South, it's a transition into being free and fully citizens. How did they do that? What happened? And that's what and that's a story we want to tell.
I think that's, and you've got,
And it's different than the Huguenot Street story.
And it's tied with home ownership and the ability to vote.
and entering into local economy.
Yes, and entering into the local economy, yes, and various other things. Now, there is, that said, this is a little caveat in terms of the, because it's outside of the University Historic District. But as a result of some research that has, and we've been doing, and we're having someone, there were at least 5 or 6 Black families up on Pizza Hill in the 1870s. And they may have combined between them own land from Pennsylvania all the way over to 32. It was all orchard land, and most of them all were orchard land during that period of time that they had bought from the Eltons, which at that time was known as Vineland or something they called it. But anyway, so the church was there. There was a family, the Moody's were there, there were Roses, there was Fulton Cox and his wife, and I'm missing someone who I'm forgetting. And someone is, a member of our history committee has been looking at deeds, etc. And down on Water Street, she was looking at as well because she believes she can identify the house that might have been the house where the Wycoops lived when the children were young or possibly born. And then if you go across the rail trail, it's behind what had been the old mill building, that red building, and there's that across that rail trail. And if you look over the side of the trail, you see this what looks like a defunct brick structure. That is of the 17th century. That may be one of the remains of. This was pointed out to me, and we're still doing some research. Everyone is of the opinion that it is. People we have spoken to are of the opinion that it is the remains of a mill that had run on the river. And the reason why we're surmising that 17th century is because what remains of it has the same construction as the Lone Burgess structure in Kingston, which is the oldest existing structure in Kingston, and it's exactly the same construction.
And scale of the event.
No, what's left of it is very, I haven't been down to see it, some folks around here were down, they took some photographs. It's, what's there is small, it's probably the enclosure where the wheel might have been or something. Is interesting if you have that area, that's the one, except the real short like that, but those remains, people are guessing are the remains of the old. One thing for sure, that structure is that construction. If you go down there and take a look at that construction, and then you go by the Lower Roberta's house, what is mill, which was a mill, by the way, structure in Kingston was a mill. And you look at just the building of the structure. There's into that area ultimately. One of the things we hope that we'll be able to do is to put together a document about the historic significance of Pencil Hill and Water Street, similar to what we've done
Yeah,
for this neighborhood.
that would be great.
And then we can discuss that.
And we, we may be able to help publish that. We meet July 8th, not in August, and then back again in September, so kind of schedule.
On our schedule, just because some of the things we would like to pursue, I would say let's come back and have a discussion in September.
That gives 7 months to And I will in pretty short order tell you what I can find out. But I don't want to let you know. So. Sounds great. I wanted to mention to you and everyone. Friends of Circular with Library at the campus and by SCS, the Keith lecture and so she's going to be giving a presentation. Later this
No,
and that'll be September 20. If that's the Thursday. The date's been established, we don't have the title yet. Thinking of that as it's always a major campus event, but we will make sure that it's publicized widely on campus as well.
Mhm.
And that'll be a great opportunity to explain the project to a larger community. Or, I mean, to the campus community that probably doesn't know much about.
Okay, well, don't forget our, June ticket up in City 19, we love to see all there. Well, the day starts at 10 o'clock. We'll do, a commemorative ceremony out at the cemetery, the Russell Cemetery. And this year, we're going to use that as an opportunity to talk a bit more about the Wynkoop family. Last year, we focused on the Olivers, so this year, we're going to talk about the Wynkoops. And then I think there's a procession gather at on the grounds adjacent to the Ann Oliver House, and they'll process from the Ann, a drum procession from the Ann Oliver House. It's either noon or 12:30, something like that. And then over to the grounds on historic Huguenot Street, and then there'll be music and speakers and stuff.
Thank you.
Who'd like- I can email fly it out.
We got it.
Yeah. Oh, and also on the 16th, we'll be talking about Fulton Cox and the A.M. Zion Church in the afternoon over at the Nepal United Methodist Church. They have plans, and I guess it applies to the planning board in order to commemorate Fulton and Jane Cox with the building of a Cox Pavilion adjacent on the Village Street side of the church. Yeah. We had hoped to be able to break ground for the pavilion this year. But like in all things, when you're anticipating building something, they ran into so it's no groundbreaking this yet, but I think we're prepared to make the formal announcement. They're going to be undertaking the project at the church. We'll find a way to place the tablet that honors the Fulton and Jane Cox in the building.
It's on the 16th.
That's on Sunday the 16th at 1.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and we'll
Yeah.
continue our conversation.
It's okay.
Yeah, in September about how to do this and how to, well, actually, I do have one other question. Which has to do with, I don't know what the status of it is yet, but it occurred to me in listening to the other things that you discussed. Now, the Ann Oliver House is by winning a architectural prize for a gym.
Yeah.
But. It is significant not because of its architecture, but because of the history that it represents. How involved would the Preservation Commission be or not be as when we start, now that we have the final conditions report let me see, the village has the final report with a whole slew of recommendations and all kinds of other stuff in it. Do you plan? Once that project starts to move forward?
Yeah, that's the condition thing then,
Okay,
is we'll need to see those plans. We'll need to discuss them, so yes.
oh, so we'll see a lot of each other.
Architectural, are you still working with Dave Tiller? Or
And Mark, and not with the landmark, the conditions report was done, by a historical architect, the firm is called Lothrop, and they're out of White Plains.
well, once the reconstruction starts, usually if an architect's doing it, it's gonna go pretty smoothly. Because all the decisions will be thought about.
Well, they were, you do not, I provided you the historic section that we had produced for that report, but if you, at some point, I guess the village and the center will come to an agreement about releasing the full report, or you could approach the village about.
Well, I just, yeah, I made it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but that.
so, it contains a lot of very specific information about recommendations about how to approach the rehabilitation of the house.
Good. Yeah, maybe we can,
And I'm also thinking maybe, given your knowledge and resources here, you may also be able to give assistance to us in identifying individuals who might be able to help assist with some of the work that needs to be done.
that's a positive step. But I'll get that report, and assuming.
You know they would. Yeah.
Not everything's a well-oiled machine.
Well, for our purposes this evening, I felt very comfortable giving the section on the historic significance. The report is much more extensive than that. I didn't feel as though I was in a position.
I think that's fair. But honestly.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. That's really- Yeah.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thanks, Kate.
I was just a walk uphill.
Oh, that's. But it is.
Oh, I finished the blue filter.
I got it.
That's all.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very much.
hopefully.
And I think you're.
I thought I was. Well, Mike said he hadn't finished it yet. And like virtually.
He did, but he found nothing.
Oh,
This district, I guess you got on the street. I'm sure, but I have yours.
Yeah.
Correct.
I retain all the pictures.
Could we give this like 10 more minutes, just?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things, I think we can do this outside meeting times. I'll compile the results of the survey. That'd be great. I'm sort of feeling, I'm happy to. I'm kind of thinking unless a lot different comes from Camilla, that it's down to Huguenot Street, Words, and some Plattekill.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit on Grove Street, a little bit on Prospect,
We're on Church,
a little bit on Church.
children on Rock Chestnut, 2 houses on Rock Chestnut.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm riding my bike around, we'll wait for.
Yeah, it's,
It's like Bluestone and then Black Mountain City.
Yeah.
Yard and then it's, so there's 2 houses. Just,
and you saw some of that too, it's 75% Bluestone.
Yeah, those more, yeah, those are.
and Broadhead is 61, it's perfect for the whole front of the house and it finishes in the wood curve. Down on Broadhead and it's just beautiful and it's like, it's not.
So amazing. Yeah, it's Kirk, or Wisdom Tree, which is with some British Street. It just gets destroyed. Pictures of cars parked.
Probably that's not good. It's just, you know, whatever curve there was, it's been, they paved and paved and the level of the roadway, nothing, no other way. No, the pieces of bluestone, reset.
Or Miranda Street. So,
So, yeah.
so I'm kind of thinking that maybe at its most basic, the report, you know, the first section is descriptive, second section is observational without necessarily making recommendations. And the position recommended part for like, look what happens when you build up the road and build the curve. So I don't know where this goes. I don't know the stuff on prospects. It's something we can do for the. So, oh, they were willing to,
June was willing to.
yeah. Jim and Bill in particular. Maybe kids that were willing to pay for replacement.
And then it's just drill section, that's it. That's,
Yeah,
that's
it's
it. So,
There's one that has. But I sort of feel like keeping the report objective, there's some kind of politics going on here that I'm really, it's all about. But just doing it objectively, I think will be a service. See what comes.
where politics.
Really very useful. Other things that I think just, so you have an application for 156 Huguenot Street. That is, what's it called? Judith. Judith. And I don't think we actually have to do anything here because
Oh, that's, yeah.
Underneath that, or behind that bush,
Right. Yeah.
is the defective compressor. It's actually around the that thing that looks like a downpipe is actually a line on it. And you just can't see it. I don't even know how we got that picture, but
Judith sent
Oh,
that
you did,
picture.
yeah.
Yeah,
because it's a tall privacy.
it's, yeah, and it's one of those sort of shadow box, I guess they call it. So you really can't see through it easily,
Yeah,
but you can see over it. I think that one's not as high as the other part.
A
of the
little
fence, but-
shielded property.
yeah. Seems like the compressor has failed. She's applying to replace it, and she described it over the phone. I wasn't sure what was physically is, I think, pretty like for my.
And a split as opposed to that. Other unit.
Right.
Right.
And then the other was, the Pat Walker thing, about 80 Main Street. It just wasn't any of us. Remember I sent out that email saying.
No, yeah, it was just an inquiry about folks taking photographs around 80 Main Street. And it was, they identified themselves as being part of the Preservation Commission. But she didn't say that. And I reached out to Susan Stetson Cohn and haven't gotten back. I haven't heard back yet. But what Pat said, she was told that it was the Preservation Commission. Regardless, I haven't had anybody, say it was them. So
HBC imposters.
Yeah, no, it's.
It's kind of-
It's not hard enough about the lawsuits.
so that'll be a like for like, right?
That's maybe what it's like.
And let's get Pat's roof, Pat Walker or Pat O'Donnell's roof.
Yep, so the other like for like is 164 Huguenot Street is just a re-roofing job on a modern contributing house. He did submit the roof.
Shingles.
Shingles. That's pretty good. Annual report is drafted. It's a really simple document. So I guess, well, yeah, it's.
In its final form, it's a simple document.
Yeah, sorry, Val, I should have put it down. It's.
6
not
hours
very
worth.
It's a factual document, not a very controversial one. But how about if we just copy you all when we send it?
Wow.
It's just, there's not really a lot of vision.
And I need you to tell me your 2 edits because they weren't apparent to me.
For some reason, they didn't show up, but it's just like a wording change. Not
Okay,
very
so
quick,
just-
that goofy.
Yeah, only that I didn't see it on my copy. So I'll PDF it when I send it to them
Maybe,
and it'll show like this. I mean,
okay, maybe it's just,
so this does not show your edits though. So you'll have to tell me what they were.
I can't even remember, it was just like a missing word or
Oh, okay.
flipped a word. And the line in question is not goofy in your version. So I think it's really. Val, thank you for doing that. Budget year is over. We stayed at about 73% total budget. We almost. Hoping next week and the following to do the first pilot of the oral history. For 68 and 70. I'm going to interview them for. Just talk about the building, see how that. So. Successful. Keep that.
That budget, will we get about the same budget for the next fiscal year from the village?
We do.
Okay.
That's already submitted. We are
Okay.
approved and it's. I'm afraid I don't remember if I can read more. I think
I don't remember either.
it's basically. a budget with
But I'll put your technology in my top so that we can find your.
Well, I mean, again, I don't think I need to purchase another one. I only use mine for word processing, the village one, and I can use my own. I'd rather because I can do things with my own that I can't do with the village one. So,
It's where the savings. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, is I talked with Terry Dunn, about the railroad siding at the Water Street Hotel project. He would like, in his perfect world, all of that siding would be brought over to where the station is, where the siding, more or less where the siding was, and signed as such. Initially, I didn't think that was a great idea because the rail is owned by the people who using about half of it. And so back to last month's brief discussion, maybe they have a plan for it, maybe they have, if they don't. I would like to work to realize at least phase one of what Terry has in mind, which is get it over sorry, this is the best I can do, but there's the. We go straight to this, there's the rail trail passing the station. He's proposing to put the sign in just to the north of that little. By fixing Rotary Station. And put some signage there, and that strikes me as a really good, achievable idea, like, the village can. Do the lifting, you can figure out a way to find somebody to buy a little extra. Some ties, very shows that these things are. Can't come out of our budget, the way the village, but there will be some private money. His vision is a lot more elaborate than this, what he'd like to see is a quarter mile side, literally, there's a whole quarter mile side. Train cars, this. And those train cars are out there for cheap, but it's not cheap to get them.
It's one of the highway rails now.
There too.
Two,
Yes.
this is Boots and.
Yeah. Two places like
Boots.
so I had a good meeting with. And so we like, this is the easy thing, just try to. Look. Particularly if the owners of Water Street don't want, they're not using. And we can get some good interpretive signage. And I think we should get behind this. The bigger project just feels like enormous. That we couldn't do without.
Well, along this wall.
Yeah.
There's drainage. It's not, it's the wall, it's not.
It's nasty, it's nasty there. I mean, this could actually help with that. And then was the question of like, I think it's not only by the village, it's owned by the local. Their trust. So are they willing to accept the maintenance? I don't know. Or. It's great to pledge to do that.
It doesn't seem like there's, as I recall, from the rail trail, there's a lot of space on that side, so then you're moving. Seem like there's regulated gauge railway distance here.
I think he measured it out in there is.
Oh,
I think he said 60 and 70 feet.
That's even more that way.
Yes, I think we can. Now that would take some more research, but. In talking with him, it does feel to me like something that our commission could get into. It's like the railroad history. Railroad was so significant to the development of the points, and it really lasted about 100 years, but it just formed the economy. That's why the box shack, the hotels, that's why it was there. There was the fruit, and maybe wasn't a cement film. Back in New York. So. What else? Well, this is off the path, so it would be. He told me 60 to 70 feet. It sure doesn't look like that.
Doesn't, if you're on this side, it may give you a total. It's on this side. I mean, there's the country, the post office. There's steep shortcut that gets you to the very back corner of the post office. And then, there's the beautiful stone wall that in places is kind of loose. Just get up to various backyards.
Right.
And
yeah. We're a nice, all of a sudden we're right in the next location, which is right behind. I know, yeah, behind Village Pizza or behind Robbie's. Connection, because that's where the new bike path.
that has just been completed.
Because that also it's kind of an natural intersection there. A lot of people would see it if you Cited from there.
Well,
I'm
I'm just guessing, it's not that long.
It's not that wide, so
There's
this,
a ditch by, there's Ronnie's building, and it drops off, and there's a muddy ditch, and then, that's where it's paved, and it's paved. Sylvia's hair,
yeah, that's not where the siding is anyway, the siding is on the east side. There's a precedent though over, I don't know if you've ever been. The wall of the media. Just. Real for the innings of Fishkill. It. Real neat with the rail trails. Here, you put a long section riding next to existing track. So it's kind of. So maybe at some point we measure.
Sure.
What that takes, but
message me.
be fun. Big points on maybe he's mismeasured.
Message is correct.
I mean, I sort of feel like as much as the rail sections, it's so. I don't feel like it's. Explains. So.
There was a side added a year or so right now. Who did that?
So
There was zero something. Right over here to just past the station.
on the opposite side.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to look for it.
Yeah, it's serious. In the last year or so. And it gives some information about the railroad.
That's cool.
Yeah,
What material?
it's like that kind of plastic. I don't know exactly what, but it's
Wallfield Land Trust has added some signs, but I don't remember found that one, near a number of the intersections.
yeah, it was definitely better than the last year or so, that I remember when all of a sudden it's there. And it was good.
Shane, I've never seen it. I mean, I ride, maybe that's the problem, riding without walking.
Yes.
Good. Speaking of going home, it's now
Oh, yeah.
10:00.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for your patience and service. I will.
Do you like inflections? That's so moved.
Shane, would you like the second thing?
Actually.
Okay.
Because,
All those in favor of closing?
oh, sure. Thank you for putting on such a wonderful event.
Yeah, I mean, now it's time to
Sorry, no, sorry.
congratulate. It was.
Oh, yes.
I had to make it